Owen Conway. I am here with
J. Strickland.
And this is a Skype remote episode of Conway and J talk shit in LA. Of course, neither of us happen to be in LA at the moment. So
yeah, we're both on opposite ends of the country right now.
Pretty much
Owen is in Arizona, and I am in North Carolina.
Yes, through the magic of the information age and Skype,
right?
We are able
Thank
to.
You, Thomas Edison.
Yes, thank you, Thomas Edison, for stealing all of Nikola Tesla's shit.
Yeah, right. Thanks, Bill Gates, for
stealing all somebody nobody's ever heard of shit. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they did that. That's right. It's nice to be able to do this because we haven't been able to revisit this in a long time, and circumstances have kind of inhibited us from doing this. So we're doing the best we can given technology. One thing that we wanted to talk about, because we're both very passionate about it, is the latest installment in the Star Wars franchise.
Yeah, what they've been calling the final Skywalker movie, anyway.
What was it, though?
No, it's not.
No. Okay. Let's break it down. So, you saw it in Arizona, correct?
I did. I saw it 12:30 a.m. Friday morning after work. I was there, and I was actually kind of interesting because I was expecting at least, a few dozen fellow nerds out there. It was a handful of people. It was pretty much an empty theater.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it was playing in like every single theater, but it wasn't like there was no... I've gone to the same theater for several Star Wars releases going back to the prequels, and there was always a crowd of some sort.
Right. Well, you remember when we saw Solo, there was nobody there.
Yeah. And Solo, to me, I mean, Solo, I think, was marketed incorrectly, and I think there were a lot of reasons Solo didn't do so well. This one, I really do think is the crest in the wave of Star Wars fatigue. Just as a fan, I'm kind of over it. I know.
Yeah, I kind of went into it expecting that. Last Jedi, upon rewatching it, was severely disappointing in that nothing that they did amounted to anything. And it was just Rian Johnson. He was trying to be different, but I don't think that he was really able to capture the true essence and spirit of the original Star Wars movies. I will give J.J. that with Force Awakens. I think I was actually excited to see a Star Wars movie, and upon leaving the film, I felt like it was great, albeit being a soft reboot of A New Hope. This film, however, was totally schizophrenic and totally unfocused, and there was so much set up, but never any payoff.
Yeah. And the payoffs were weak, and there were things that we all figured out a long time ago. I mean, like Ray Palpatine, I remember going on Facebook with that way back when.
Spoilers, we're into spoilers.
Oh, yeah. Ray Palpatine, I said way back at Force Awakens, half as a joke because I thought it was the hackiest, dumbest thing you could do. It was like the least interesting way to do it. And honestly, I, unlike many fans, I really loved Last Jedi. It's in my top 3 favorite Star Wars movies.
Oh, really?
And part of it is that he did do something different. I remember at the end of Last Jedi being like, I have no fucking clue what's going to happen next. And that was...
Anybody else did either.
I mean, yeah, and it's like, I felt that Abrams, he came in and really took all these unnecessary digs at Rian Johnson, and instead of incorporating what Rian Johnson did, he just kind of shit all over it. Luke's only line, one of his few lines was, the weapon of a Jedi deserves more respect, which is a big middle finger to Rian Johnson. Putting Kylo's helmet back together, which, by the way, there was no payoff to that whatsoever. At all. There was no reason for him to put his helmet back together. Except that Abrams wanted to give a middle finger to Johnson.
It's an intimidation factor, and they wanted to use it to market a new toy.
They wanted to use it, and they can't cut Adam Driver's hair because of those Dumbo ears of his.
God, he wouldn't be like indie heartthrob if those ears were showing.
Exactly.
I saw Llewyn Davis, and I think that was the first thing I ever saw him in. I was like, man, this is a goofy looking motherfucker.
He is a goofy looking motherfucker. The first thing I saw him in was that terrible Girls show. I shouldn't say it's terrible. A lot of people like it. Talented people.
Like Lena.
I just think I just don't like any of the characters. I found them, they remind me too much of a lot of women I know in real life, and wish I didn't.
And they probably ape off that shit just like they ape off like Sex in the City and shit like that, So
it basically was Sex in the City in Brooklyn, yeah.
Yeah. Well, in defense of Last Jedi, I will say, yeah, he did try to do something different. Again, however, it was just all. Somebody gave this analogy. It was like whenever Princess Leia is blown out of the ship, she leaves the ship, and then she comes back, and there was no consequence. I mean, she was like in a coma for a minute, but then she's back to where she was,
I was watching this. Yeah, you're reminding me of something Kevin Smith said in his Rise of Skywalker review about what he dubs Carrie Poppins, that scene. Carrie Poppins, which I thought was very clever, yeah. But it kind of pivoted to his other point where he thought a better ending for Leia would have been the Holdo maneuver when Laura Dern blows through the ships. That should have been Leia's ending, and I thought that was a really cool idea. And honestly, let's talk about Leia, because it I don't know if you've ever seen the episode of South Park where they repurpose all of Isaac Hayes' old lines as Chef. And they haven't saying, that's what it was. That's exactly what it was. It was, Rey is like, sitting here giving all this explanatory dialogue, and then she turns to Leia and she's like, what do you think? Leia's like, no. I mean, dude, come on. It would have been.
It wasn't too. Oh, go ahead.
It just, I feel like she, it didn't work. And it should have, it really did feel, it didn't feel like a tribute. It felt like, I don't know. It felt gross. I felt very Grand Moff Tarkin-y about it.
Yes, but to me it wasn't too terribly jarring. And again, given the circumstances, it's like, they killed off Luke. What were they gonna do? I mean, I suppose had I had to go back and do this film, if they had given me an opportunity to write this film, I would have said, just don't even have her in it. She's just off on another planet or something like that.
Or the opening crawl starts with Princess Leia has died. Very simple. We've lost this great leader of the Resistance. Open on her funeral type of deal.
The only reason I don't think it was completely in poor taste is because I believe that Carrie Fisher would have wanted it. I think that she would have wanted.
Well, and her family signed off on it. Her daughter's in the movie. I think they did it out of love.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, the Peter Cushing thing with Tarkin in Rogue One was completely
that was so weird.
Yeah, it was. I was so like, what? Like, why would they do this? Again, right around the character. You didn't need him. You didn't. Krennic.
Or you have him in there for 2 seconds looking through the window. When you first see him when he's looking in the window, if they had left it at that, it would have been amazing. But no, you have to turn him into a whole fucking.
The movie like they did with. Revenge of the Sith, where he's just there for like a split second, and then we're like, "Oh, it's Tarkin," And,
yeah.
But
back to Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, we're going on other.
We're just gonna backpedal on this.
Well, go through the plot here. So the thing starts with the first lines are the dead speak, which is a little morbid considering you have a dead Carrie Fisher in the movie, but I digress. The dead speak. Emperor Palpatine, who everyone thought was dead, has released a radio message to the galaxy. Saying that he's alive, basically a press statement. And I have several questions here.
Okay.
First of all, why do we never hear this thing, ever? We never hear what Palpatine actually has to say. What's the point of it?
I'm with you on that.
And secondly, why is he telling the galaxy that he's back if he's in the super weakened state? Aren't you going to wait until you possess Rey? And why would you tell them you're involved at all? Just possess Rey and tell them you're Rey. She already has so much going. It makes no sense. Anyway.
Yeah.
So.
You know who the co-writer on that was, though?
The guy who did Justice League.
Yes, Chris Terrio. who looks like a little child but is actually 5 years older than me. I found.
I mean, I got nothing against the guy. It's all it's ultimately it's hard to lay the blame anywhere because movies like this are made by committee, and they were just the blame really I think fundamentally lies with trying to please the fans too much. But we'll get to all of that. I mean, what did you think about the Palpatine is really alive and the radio message and all that shit?
Well, first of all, my question was how? How? Was the Emperor that was in Return of the Jedi like an avatar of him? Like, was he not the real guy, or he wasn't a clone? Or was he? I don't know. Like, they never answered that question. It was there, and that's the thing with JJ in his films. There's the emotional resonance that he wants from whenever you view the film, but there's nothing underneath it.
Yeah,
there's no.
It's all spectacle.
It's like there. Well, how did he get there? We saw him die in Episode 6. Everybody wanted to know that, and I don't think the answers were clear or distinct enough to us.
Wouldn't it be like the first thing out of Kylo Ren's mouth being like, how the fuck are you alive, dude? Everybody knows you fell down a shaft in a space station that then exploded. How the fuck are you alive?
Right.
And
that was my first.
And why would he tell... I'm getting ahead of myself. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I was just going to say that how is he alive? And then two, this is getting much later. Well, no, because he reveals it at the beginning of the movie when he's got that fleet of Imperial Star Destroyers.
Immediately he reveals that. Yeah.
That has that devastating Death Star weapon. And it's been there for years. Why didn't they use it 30 fucking years ago?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It is the most... It's more devastating than the Death Star. Think about it. The
Way
Star
more.
Destroyers can travel faster, and if they've got the same technology, all you got to do is send one to different points in the galaxy. Boom.
You can wipe out solar systems, and you can wipe out the whole galaxy in theory.
So that was stupid. I sneered whenever that part came out. I was like, oh, Jesus, really?
Yeah.
I was like, really, Terrio? That's shit.
It was,
so.
I mean, just one line, and like Snoke was genetically engineered by him. I thought that was kind of cool, but again, I mean, it's a background. You see a couple Snoke, like I guess other alternate Snoke sitting in a tank. So he was basically like a genetic puppet, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, you've never seen Alien Resurrection, have you?
No.
I don't want to spoil it for you then, because I think you need to see it. I happen to like that film. I like Jean-Pierre Jeunet as a director, though, and I think it's... here's one thing about the Aliens series that Star Wars was never able to really grasp on, and I'm talking about the first four, not necessarily Aliens versus Predator, or any of that other shit, Alien Covenant, Prometheus, any of that shit. Each director had a distinct vision, and every single film was different in that the visuals, the story, where the characters were at in their lives, all different. And this, it's just...
Well, I think they got started on that, and then they chickened out because Last Jedi was so controversial. I think that they chickened out and they doubled back with Abrams, and they're like, look, just give them what they want. Make her Palpatine's granddaughter. Nobody dies. Again, nobody dies. Nobody dies in a war, in a series that's entirely defined by war. And it's like, he basically did Return of the Jedi's ending, which is like, if you're going to remake them, basically, why not improve on them? Why not make them better?
And that was the really disappointing part too, was that anytime you thought a major character was going to die, and I'm going to tell you, man, like whenever Han Solo died, I was upset. Whenever Luke died, I was upset because you think about it like this: yeah, they're fictional characters, they're in movies, but you think about us, you and I, we've grown up with these characters for over 30 years now.
Han Solo is the reason I do what I do. He's that fictional figure, set me on a course. I'm like, I want to be an actor because of that guy.
Sardonic, sarcastic, smart-ass attitude. He's got. Yeah, no, I mean, Harrison Ford, me too. I mean, like I said, Indiana Jones with me specifically. We've touched this before because Indiana Jones, he's a globetrotter, he's cultured, and I was like, I want to be that guy, and I want to be Han Solo, just be like a smartass, and women love me regardless, That would be amazing, But,
people beg you to leave, beg you not to leave. But what was it? There's a line in The Simpsons part that says, "I'm a badass loner like Wolverine who leaves when people beg him not to leave."
That's true. That is true. But yeah, no. I thought I was like, Chewbacca's going to die. I was like, no. You know, when they had him walk out the ship and the two Knights of Ren, I was like, oh, fuck, you know?
And I thought the fake out where she accidentally kills him with the Force lightning, I thought that was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I was heartbroken. I half didn't expect them. I was like, all right, well, we didn't see Chewie. We didn't get like a last close-up, so they're probably going to bring him back at the end of the movie. They brought him back in 2 seconds. The emotional resonance of...
He's in the Millennium Falcon with Lando, you know?
Yeah, that's true. But still, it's backtracking on a cool choice. It's an interesting, cool choice to have her accidentally kill Chewie with this terrible new power.
Right.
But Disney, I think Disney wouldn't let him go through with it. They're like, no, you can't kill Chewbacca. You can't kill anybody. So I'm like...
You already killed Luke. You already killed Leia. You know?
I mean, yeah, Leia died, but she's honestly barely in the movie. I was hoping, you know, they would take a look at Rogue One and be like, let's incorporate a little real drama here in the end. Let's lose Finn or Poe or Rose Tico could very easily have been in this movie and die. Actually, that was one of my gripes about Last Jedi, is that she should have died saving Finn. That would have been a perfect closing arc for that character.
I agree, yeah. And, to touch on the Chewbacca thing, like, they had the knife, and I thought they were going to do, like, a Star Trek 3 thing and just fucking stab him, you know? But they didn't. And, I was just, like, again, I was, like, heartbroken. Like, tears were welling up in my eyes. I'm not saying this because, you know, I'm emotionally that attached to Star Wars, but, you know, again, like I said, I've seen these characters since I was, you know...
Sure, you're emotionally attached. I am. I was expecting a big emotional roller coaster with this movie.
Yeah, it was, but then it just...
The only part that really got to me was Leia's, the characters reacting to Leia dying because that hit so close.
Oh, yeah.
That really hit me hard. And Han... The memory scene with Han and Kylo, I thought was really beautiful.
Man, that was beautiful. Yeah. That was probably my favorite moment in the movie.
Yeah, it was really great. My favorite moment, actually, I mean, yeah, we can get a little positive for a second. I thought that when she's facing Palpatine and he says, the only way to save your friends is to take the throne, basically. I thought that was an awesome conflict. And something, again, like, why not just streamline the movie? Focus on her relationship with Palpatine. Have them meet sooner, or I don't know. So much of Palpatine's presence in Jedi was his relationship with Vader. Like most of his scenes before Luke shows up is you get a sense of their history, of his power over Vader, and I don't know. He felt much more of a character in Jedi, and I think you needed that with this. He felt like this sort of distant, obscure threat, when really he's a very super important character with clear motivations. And I mean, how does this man, feel about his granddaughter? The child of the son who dishonored him and ran away and defected, and all this stuff is there. It's so, to me, this movie so sums up the entire Star Wars saga, in that there's great potential, there's epic stuff here, but there's just stupid mistakes and basic boring choices left and right. About 30% of it is gold, and the rest ranges from meh to shit.
Yeah, and with the Emperor, I'll quote a line from Return of the Jedi to kind of illustrate what I thought about the dynamic between the Emperor and Rey. There is no conflict. That's what I felt. With Return of the Jedi, with Luke, and even with, the Emperor, while he may not be in all the films, and when he's in Empire for that limited amount of time, he's always in the shadows, and he's always mentioned, so he is a character from the beginning,
Yeah, exactly.
If you never saw the prequels, the Emperor's presence is felt through every single movie.
Mm-hmm.
Now, yeah, that was the problem. Luke has, you can feel it, and I mean, you know that he just fucking, hates the Emperor. He despises him. He's seen so many friends die by the Empire's hand, and now he realizes he has a father, And that was all there. But with this film, it was just like, well, fuck, we got to throw it all in there at the last minute. And, I will say with this film, at least they tried to develop the characters. But they should have been doing that 2 films ago.
Yeah, they really should have. And if Abrams wanted to tell the whole story himself, he should have signed the contract and told the whole fucking story himself. Or build on what Ryan did. Don't. That's ultimately what really killed me with it. That and the pandering left and right. The pandering. Don't give the audience what they want. That's a rookie mistake.
Yeah.
You have to give them what they need. You know what I mean?
They should have killed off Chewbacca. They should have killed off C-3PO. They should have killed off Lando.
Again, 3PO having his memory wiped like that, it was so clever and beautiful and tragic. And then 2 scenes later, no, he's back to the old C-3PO.
Oh, he's back.
Yeah, that whole dramatic thing, that whole emotional experience he just went through was bullshit. Don't worry about that.
Right, and it's like none of this fucking mattered. None of it. It was just so wholeheartedly frustrating.
I will say this, that every actor in this movie gave it 150%. And I thought that Daisy Ridley, she was so good in this movie in every scene. Just totally knocked it out of the park.
I think she stands to be a really great actress, provided that she doesn't fall into the Star Wars curse.
I don't think she will. I think she's still young enough, and John Boyega probably will. Adam Driver won't. He's getting Oscar buzz for this fucking Scarlett Johansson movie. I am so envious of that guy. God, it hurts.
Hey, man, we had this similar trajectory. And I will say this. Everything in life amounts to luck. It all does. You can prepare for it all you want, but in the end, it all amounts to who you know, who you meet, what opportunities you land.
Yeah, but we're not at the end yet.
No, he worked really hard. I'm not going to discount anything.
That's the thing, is he's a really good actor, and he's a Marine. He worked really hard. It'd be so much easier if he was some spoiled brat I could just trash. But he's not.
No, that's why, I respect actors like him. I respect actors like Bryan Cranston and Michael Caine and, guys that actually had to live and work and I just watched a movie, Clouds of Sils Maria, the other day with Kristen Stewart and Juliette Binoche. And it's a fine film. I think Juliette Binoche is fearless. She's great in that. I think Kristen Stewart's great in that.
I was gonna say, how was my 2011 crush? I guess maybe 2013 crush.
Oh, she's gorgeous, man. She's beautiful. But
yeah, she's a little stoner too.
Yes.
I like that.
She has an unfair advantage in that I believe that her mother is a casting agent. She's got some connection somehow. Just like Jonah Hill and all those people, that all those prolific A-list actors, not all of them, but a large percentage of them have some sort of familial connections that's in film. And so it's extremely unfair. I don't...
it is, but it's also not the...
It doesn't exist on...
We've never been in a position before as, let's say, a community of artists, the artistic community in America. We've never been in a position before where we can directly reach the audience with our material. We don't have the money, we don't have the production values, this and that, but you can get a really good camera, and you can the basics, the fundamentals are available to us in a way that they weren't before.
That's also inherently part of the problem, is that everybody thinks they can be a filmmaker,
That's true, too.
There's just this oversaturation of subpar films and, actors and things like that. And, that's kind of the disadvantage of it. You're not going to have a lot of... I dare say that I think the studio system had its advantages in that, you could get this core acting group and, the films, you had to go see a film. You had to go to a movie theater to see a film. Yeah, so, to kind of sum it all up, Rise of Skywalker, not a stellar input in the Star Wars franchise. Still better than the prequels.
I mean, definitely better than the prequels. I can agree with that, but it had prequel-ism all over it, I felt. Certainly the acting was better, the dialogue was better, the effects were amazing. The effects were really, really cool.
Yeah. The dialogue to me was very snappy and back and forth, and it reminded me a lot of Empire.
Yeah, I could see that too. So we haven't talked about Lando Calrissian.
That's right. I thought Billy D. Williams had a stroke.
I was gonna say either that or they can't get him to stop getting high. So high.
Yeah, he was probably super fucking high.
So high.
Yeah.
But, I mean, look, nevertheless, obviously, Billy D, yeah, I mean, whatever, maybe he's got a medical problem or whatever, maybe he's just getting older.
Yeah.
It showed. But.
Yeah. You didn't see the newest Terminator, did you?
No, I did not.
They dredged up Linda Hamilton, and I thought she had a stroke. Like, she just seemed very, like.
I think it's just PTSD from being married to James Cameron. It's post-Cameron stress disorder, PCSD.
PCSD. That's probably true. But yeah, Lando, I mean, he needed to be in the film, like, a long time ago, you know? I mean, I do think it was fitting that they brought him back, but they hardly... This was the problem with those older characters, is that they hardly utilized them, and I get why they did that, because they wanted to make room for the newer characters, as they should have. You know, they wanted the newer characters to shine a little bit, but you know, they needed to be a little bit more. They needed to provide a little bit more attention to the older characters. You know.
Yeah, I mean, like everyone hated Luke's arc in Last Jedi. I really loved it. I thought it was one of the highlights of the prequels, because it treated him like a human. I mean, instead of this all-powerful Jedi wizard who knows everything and is going to come save the day, he's this lonely, tortured soul. And I think the Luke that we see in Rise, you know, obviously he's transcended into the Force and everything, but there was none of that. I don't know. When Obi-Wan talked to Luke in Return of the Jedi, it was still Obi-Wan. You know, he didn't speak in riddles and shit like that. He talked, I mean, in some of the visions he does, but he talked pretty frankly to Luke. And the Luke we see in Rise is not the Luke that was in Last Jedi. And I mean, of course it's not, because Abrams, you know, despite what he says, was clearly not on board with a lot of Rian Johnson's choices.
What? Okay, one question I had about Lando. Where the fuck did that fleet come from?
I guess the implication is that Lando went around and kind of rounded up all the good guys left in the galaxy.
So many people? Where were they in Last Jedi?
Yeah, exactly. Right? Where were they when the First Order was destroying planet systems and, you know?
We're getting our asses whooped. We're kind of tired. I think we're just going to, like, hang out and smoke weed and shit. Yeah. Oh, the Emperor's back. Oh, now we'll come, you know, like.
Well, now. What it was is, again, it's the Avengers Assemble shot. Something I haven't said yet, but it occurred to me halfway through Rise was, this is a Marvel movie. It was totally Marvel. It's a Marvel movie. It's Avengers Endgame, basically.
Oh, no doubt.
You know, and that shot with all the old ships. You have the ship from Rebels in there. I think you have some other you know, deep fan good guy ships. I think maybe even the Mandalorian ships in there or something. But so it doesn't. Again, the Emperor, how he came back doesn't really matter. The fact that he came back is all that Disney really cares about, because they know that the quote unquote fans will be happy with that. They'll be happy.
I think they really did, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, it's just but Star Wars is so different from comic books. Comic books have, you know, mounds and mounds and mounds of source material. Star Wars movies were made up as they went along, and that's part of what makes them Star Wars.
That is true. Did you notice the Wedge Antilles cameo?
I did.
Yeah.
I managed not to blink for it. It was cool.
I kind of wanted him to be a long time ago.
I felt even though that moment was cheesy, it did get to me a little bit. I'm still a sucker for the Avengers Assemble shot, much as I deride it.
I
Yeah.
I think the fan service was too overbearing. I think it was pretty appropriate in parts. I mean, why wouldn't Lando and Wedge be back there? They fucking destroyed the second Death Star, you know?
Like, I mean, I was absolutely cool with that. It's where it was the stuff I talked about, where the fundamental changes in Luke's character, and I mean, I think Kylo Ren kind of got shafted. I was really just bored with the redeeming Ben Skywalker at the last minute so that Rey can kiss him, and then he dies.
Yeah.
I thought it would have been way more interesting that we never see Ben Skywalker. Ben Skywalker died before this story took place. And to let Kylo Ren be the bad guy. And I thought that's what Rian Johnson was doing. And I thought it was just such a compelling choice. Because not everybody can be brought back. Not everybody can be saved. Is a much more, I think, interesting, and does he deserve to be saved? He was fucking Space Hitler. He murdered billions.
Yeah, but again, Vader, because I think there's always that redemption aspect to the Star Wars stories. And I'll slightly disagree with you in that I thought what I think would have been infinitely more interesting is that Rey ends up essentially sacrificing herself. Instead, that would have been a nice bait and switch because, Vader in Jedi sacrifices himself and then becomes Anakin Skywalker and then dies, An interesting twist would have been to have our protagonist, assume the same role, but then our once former antagonist is redeemed. And that would have been interesting to see him come back to the Resistance and everybody kind of be like, what are you doing here type thing, and then, they gradually have to accept him again.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think that is an interesting. That's certainly more interesting than what happened on screen. I mean, I'm a sucker for a good kiss too, and this whole prequel or sequel trilogy has had a astounding lack of romance. So I like that. I was on board with that.
It was more earned than Rogue One. For sure.
I thought it was very, very earned, but I don't know. Maybe if we had gotten to know Ben Solo a little bit, maybe if he had been redeemed a little earlier in the story or something, it just all seemed to happen kind of like we're supposed to know this guy we've never really known. We've only known Kylo Ren. And even though he's a villain, I really liked Kylo Ren. I thought he was very compelling and interesting, and he was conflicted, but I don't know.
I might lose you because I'm going into a forest, so.
It's all good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Again, given the circumstances, it was mediocre, and again, upon rewatching it, I was just like, maybe I'll notice things that I didn't notice before, and there wasn't really anything. I will say that too, that this was MacGuffin the movie. Oh,
it was one after another. Fucking glowing object after another that they got to go track. I'm like, I don't remember these from Star Wars movies, glowing MacGuffins. I guess the droids kind of were in the first one. There's no MacGuffin in the second one.
Well, the MacGuffin was the Death Star plans with the droids.
Right. That makes sense. That's something that would be in war, a glowing rock that points you to a certain direction. Well, what about an Empire? Where's the MacGuffin in Empire?
The MacGuffin Empire would be
Luke, right? Isn't it kind of Luke? Isn't that what Vader's looking for?
Luke and Han Solo and Leia.
So the characters, which is a way more interesting MacGuffin.
For sure.
I mean, even in Mandalorian, the MacGuffin. Have you watched it?
Yes.
Okay. The MacGuffin is a baby Yoda. I mean, who's going to argue with that?
I don't really know what I think about that yet. I think it's cool, but it's going to be interesting to see where they go with it. But just to kind of sum up Rise of Skywalker a little bit, I had a point I was going to make. Damn it.
Hate it when that happens.
My memory's been wiped like 3PO.
Don't worry. It'll come back in about 30 seconds.
It'll come back, yeah. MacGuffin, the movie. That's what we were saying. You know what I got a lot, too? I got a lot of Raiders of the Lost Ark vibes because of that. And because of the way that Palpatine dies at the end when his like flesh is melting off, you know.
Yeah, even the opening, Kylo going into this weird temple kind of thing. Yeah, it does have kind of a Indiana Jones vibe to it, more of an adventure feel to it than a drama, than a space opera.
I loved all the set pieces. Everything was beautiful, you know. But
yeah, that I cannot argue with, man. It was a gorgeous looking fucking movie.
Agreed. And here's the big problem. This is where you go wrong with that Star Wars movie. Okay. New Hope. You got 3 locations. You got Tatooine, you got the Death Star, and you got Yavin 4. Empire, you got Hoth, you got Dagobah, you got Bespin. Jedi, you got Tatooine. You got Death Star, and you got Endor. This place had like 30 different locations.
Oh, dude, it was one after another. And by the way, Exegol, that is a first draft name for a fucking planet if I ever heard one. You couldn't have thought of a cooler planet name than Exegol. It sounds like, I don't know, it sounds like eczema. It reminds me of like a skin condition. I don't know.
Yeah. And the Sith planet was never mentioned before? It doesn't exist? No, we didn't know about it? And that's, again, Palpatine's son. Nobody ever knew that Palpatine had a son anywhere, ever, at all. The guy would have been if Palpatine had a son, he would have been a very fucking important figure, particularly if he turned against Palpatine. First of all, he would be Force sensitive, right? Second of all, if he turns against Palpatine, why didn't he join the rebellion? It's not because he had a wife and kid. Rey was born long after the Emperor already died. Did he turn against him?
That's the implication. Because she said, because you find out that Palpatine killed his son and the wife. He killed the parents. He sent a guy to do it.
Why didn't he just... Well, no, he was dead. But if he was alive the whole time, why didn't he just contact him and then groom him to be the next fucking emperor?
Apparently the guy didn't want it. But it's like... I don't know. I don't see Palpatine... I guess I could buy the most powerful man in the galaxy getting some chick to bang him. But I don't...
She would have had to done so with his... destroyed face.
Yeah, he would have looked like he looked in Jedi. I mean, when would he the guy was probably in his mid-30s when he died. So he would have had him sometime, or he would have had him early on. He would have had him before Jedi, certainly. Well, he dies in Jedi. Before, like, Empire. At some point, Palpatine went out and banged a chick.
Yeah.
This guy rose to be an adult. He would have been like Han's age. Maybe not. No, like Luke's age.
No, he was a little younger. I would say he was probably like 30s, 40s, probably.
So, okay, no, he would have been like, because Force Awakens pick up 30 years after Jedi, right?
Right.
Rey, I think, is 19 or 20, because she's Luke's age in A New Hope. So she's like, let's say she's 20.
Right.
So 10 years after Jedi is when Homeboy... So he would be like in his late teens, early 20s during Jedi.
Okay. So then he'd be about mid-late 40s then.
Yeah, so I mean, through his whole childhood, Palpatine kept him a secret. He didn't groom him as his up-and-coming... I mean, nobody knew that... It just...
It's incredibly convoluted. It's so stupid.
It really is, and it's boring.
Yeah. Now, I mean... This is the problem with the film, is that they went from A to B to C to D to E when they could have just went from A to B. There were so many simpler ways that you could have condensed that and streamlined it so that there wasn't...
If he just made it about the characters and the relationships, man, which is really what he did in Force Awakens, I thought. It was very much... I was very into the characters. Right. But he kind of just...
That's where Rogue One suffered, is because there were no characters.
You didn't get to know them enough. They were there, but you didn't get. There was too much. There was too much CGI Tarkin to worry about.
It's crazy to think about how many non-characters there were in the new installments too. Just how many, like Captain Phasma.
Yeah, dude, Captain Phasma did nothing. Nothing.
And Rose even, like, to a degree.
Dude, Rose got so shafted. I mean, like, what was the point of that character? Why did she even exist? Why? I mean, at least kill her. At least kill her. If she doesn't have a purpose, kill her so the audience feels bad. And then gives the hero something. At least do something with her. They left her in the toy box.
Yeah. I kind of thought Finn or Poe would die.
I was hoping Finn or Poe. It would have at least given, but everybody's happy at the end. Happy, joyous hands. Why does she bury Leia's? Why? First of all, burying sabers, is that a thing? Do they really? I mean, Luke burned Vader's body. I don't know why they're burying him. Wouldn't they be more useful to train a new generation of Jedi? I don't know. Anyway. And why? First of all, Luke hated Tatooine. And Leia went there once, and it was not a good experience for her. She got dressed up in a metal bikini and had to lay next to a big, disgusting, getting sexually harassed by a disgusting slug. Why would she bury their sabers on Tatooine? Why would she go to Tatooine? It doesn't make sense!
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was another thing with Lando too. I think they were hinting that the girl that was the former stormtrooper was like supposed to be his daughter.
That's something. The implication. My first reading was that I thought he was hitting on her.
That's what I thought.
I thought Lando's making a move. Good for him. Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm not dead yet. But apparently I read online that the implication is that there'll be a comic series where Lando and I think Jannah, her name was. I don't know. She was in it for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
It served no purpose. Again, purposeless character. Nothing.
They barely introduced her, unless they're going to use her for future series. Which, it's kind of funny. If maybe it'll be that he doesn't know it's his daughter, and it'll be in true Star Wars fashion, the whole...
kind of a reverse Oedipus thing?
Familial
Dude, like a reverse Oedipus, she bangs her father without knowing. Oh, man, that'd be awesome.
That's gross. I don't know. Whenever Finn tells, he's like, to Rey, he's like, I have something to tell you. Then he never does.
Yeah, again.
He never does.
Again, just leaving shit on it's first draft stuff. It's like you get to the end of the script, you go back, you're like, oh, right, I was going to do something with that, and I lost track of it, so I'll lose it. Or I'll pay it off. But anyway, Abrams publicly said that what Finn was going to say is that he's also Force sensitive. Which is so lame. And they tack that in a couple of places. He's like, I have a feeling, all of a sudden.
Okay, so I didn't like the idea that everybody could use the Force. Semicolon, however, comma, having been a spiritual practitioner, it makes a little bit of sense. If you use the analogy that the Force is like a supreme deity in the universe, many religious traditions teach that everybody has the potential to unlock the spiritual being within themselves.
Sure, there's people who are more spiritual, more in touch with that than others, but it's like music. Everybody can play and read music or play, but some people are better at it than others.
I kind of like that there wasn't that exclusivity to the Jedi, that people would be able to tap into it. Again, like I said, it's very reminiscent of any modern spiritual traditions in that it's all inclusive.
Well, I think what Johnson was doing wasn't necessarily saying it was all inclusive. He was saying it wasn't based on bloodlines. It was random, and it was more anybody could be a hero, but also the Force picks Force-sensitive people at random. So in that sense, you could argue maybe Palpatine's son wasn't Force-sensitive. Maybe that was part of the rift between them. Doesn't make any sense at all, but...
I don't know. Maybe they'll explore that in a comic.
I'm sure there's going to be books and comics and probably a TV show on Disney+.
The thing is, I shouldn't be required to read to go see a movie.
I mean, that's it, man. If you have to stand on your head and squint and hop up and down to see a good movie there, then maybe it's just a shitty movie. It's kind of how I feel about a lot of Paul Thomas Anderson stuff, though I shouldn't say that.
Why would you say?
Not a lot of it. The Master specifically. I'm like, okay, it's really good if I think about it this way, or if I think about it that way, or the prequels are the perfect example of this. The prequels are really good if you think about it this way. If you think about it that, I'm like, well, if I have to do all that, then it's bad writing.
Yeah. Well, now that you've dipped into PTA, like, I happen to like The Master. I like most of PTA's catalog. I hated Inherent Vice.
I thought Inherent Vice was better than The Master. The Master just frustrated me. The Master was a big blue balls because he had all these incredible this incredible cinematography, incredible production design, these amazing actors doing really interesting characters and very weird kind of dialogue, and it was kind of this sporadic violence. It was beautiful, and then it ended, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
nothing happened. At least There Will Be Blood ended with a murder. At least you had that.
Well, I need to go back and rewatch it again because again I watched it.
It's beautiful. Look, I'm not trashing Paul Thomas Anderson. He's a masterful filmmaker, and The Master was. I didn't particularly like the script, is all.
Not masterful.
It was not.
The Master.
I think his best movie, in my opinion, is still Boogie Nights. Because Boogie Nights has a beginning, a middle, and an end. There's a story there. And I like... Go ahead.
My personal favorite, it's one of my favorite of all time, is Punch Drunk Love.
Yeah, I got to watch that one again. I don't think I ever actually saw the end of it.
I mean, it emotionally resonates with me because I am that guy. You know, I've been that guy before. You know, I'm still kind of that
You've
guy,
trashed public bathrooms in a fit of rage. I remember that scene.
I think
great
I did.
scene.
Yeah, I'm sure I've done that. Yeah, I mean, again, to touch on episode 9, it's like Star Wars Inherent Vice, in that there's all these characters and there's all these situations and scenarios, but we never really get a firm grasp on anything.
Well,
because it's so much.
Maybe like Inherent Vice, you have to be absolutely stoned out of your fucking mind to enjoy it. Because I enjoyed Inherent Vice the second time I watched it because I ate an edible. And I was like, this is great. You know what I mean?
Well, that was the thing. Like, I was in the theater and I was not in a good position, and I was just like, I just want to leave.
I hit my vape pen a couple of times, and I think I brought in a little Jack Daniels with me. I think I put a little Jack Daniels in my soda, but I wasn't messed up when I saw Rise.
I will say that our audience was I don't think anybody left. I don't think anybody went up and went to use the bathroom.
Were they into it? Were they a good crowd?
Yeah, with the exception of 2 people that were just laughing and joking and stuff. And I'm like, shut the fuck up, you know? Like,
it's annoying.
Again, ArcLight. I paid $20 to go see that theater.
That's not a cheap theater. Yeah,
I don't need to buy the Mystery Science Theater commentary.
Right, you can go to the $6 movies for that shit. I went to see It Chapter 2 in Harlem, which means you're watching it with a commentary track. You know what I mean? And it was actually kind of the perfect movie to go see, you know, with a crowd that likes to talk.
Is that right?
It really kind of was, because it's kind of a silly movie, and it had a lot of jump scares and big scary clown. So it kind of worked.
I'll tell you what I rewatched last night was Exorcist 3, and that movie is fantastic.
I still haven't seen that. I haven't seen any of the sequels except for the prequels they did in Africa.
Well,
I saw one of those.
Yeah, Exorcist 4 is shitty. I mean, Paul Schrader tried to direct the first one, and I think they had Rennie Harlan do another one. It's so stupid. But 2 is not very good. I've never seen it, but it's John Borman. And then 3 is William Peter Blatty, who wrote Exorcist. He directs it, and originally it was called Legion, and because there was no exorcism in it, they basically had to write that in there into the script, and it's actually better. It's one of those rare scenarios where studio interference actually made it better.
Mm.
Yeah, so, but I highly encourage you to watch it. It's on Shudder.
That's interesting. Bringing up studio interference, I mean, that's definitely... my brother and I were talking about Star Wars, you know, and how these sort of big tentpole movies are made. You know, I mean, nobody really knows why Colin Trevorrow left, except that it wasn't... I don't know that it was a firing. I think it was a mutual kind of nope thing. And I think...
Yeah, I do feel like he kind of got the shaft a little bit.
Yeah, I think... I didn't like the Jurassic World movies. I don't know. I'm not really a huge fan of his. He's a very successful guy, obviously. Good for him. But it would have been, I don't know. I wonder what the creative differences were, you know, because...
I think it was creative differences. I think it was they wanted somebody that they knew would be able to right the ship of the franchise.
Yeah.
And they just didn't have full confidence in Colin Trevorrow.
I mean, I can almost feel it like now, like Abrams is like, so she's going to accidentally kill Chewbacca. And they're like, Well, okay, that's cool, but you got to bring him back like no more than like 2 minutes later. Like seriously, like no, you can't kill Chewbacca. Well, okay. What if we kill Finn or Poe? No, if you kill them, their action figure sales go down. Fuck you. They stay alive.
Chewbacca dies in the Legends novels.
He's, I mean, he's a great character, but there's not a whole hell of a lot of places you can go with Chewbacca, unless you have like an inside his head thing where you understand what he's thinking and stuff. Like a novel might be interesting.
Chewie's like a trusted sidekick,
Yeah, and he'd be a great death. He'd have that was one of the rumors flying around that Chewie was going to die, and it was one of those things. I'm like, well, this movie might actually, take some risks.
Balls.
It didn't have any balls. It had faux balls, Did
you see that lesbian kiss that was in there? I didn't.
I saw it.
The second time around.
Yeah, it's buried in the background in there somewhere.
But they were making such a big deal about it, and then it was like, if you blink, you'll fucking miss it.
You know what's interesting? I read earlier today that Oscar Isaac was actually petitioning Disney, and like the screenwriters and stuff, to have Poe and Finn be gay.
Oh yeah, I heard that too.
He was pushing for it.
Yeah, which again, they don't want to take chances like that they feel are going to alienate their core audience, which is a lot of like really conservative people. Families,
the conservatives and also also foreign markets, man. I mean, right now, gay people are the most kind of accepted and understood they've been in our society. We're moving in the right direction there in so many ways, but we're one country. I mean, and we're so behind in so many ways too. And look at all the struggle and the lives and the toil it took for gay people to get the right to marry and not to be treated like and really it's more like a cultural thing where they're not stigmatized, it's not looked at as a dysfunction anymore. Other countries ain't like that. I understand there's certain I think maybe, I don't want to say China, but I think it's probably China, where they had to cut the gay kiss out.
I keep forgetting that they were probably tailor-making this movie for Chinese audiences,
Well, and they're making they're definitely incorporating it, They want to please the U.S. market, too. They want to please everybody. They want to make a movie that everybody's going to like.
That's the problem.
Exactly. That's the fundamental fucking problem.
You just need... This is the thing. And I mean, even in life, too. You just have to go forward with things with full confidence and not really give a shit what anybody else thinks. And this is the problem with major blockbusters, is that they're just like, okay, well, we want you to like us. We want you to like us. And it just screams desperation.
They sit in a room with a bunch of yokels, and they're like, what do you guys want to see in the movie? And they're like, well, we want explosions, and we want titties. Well, we can't do that anymore because it's a post-Me Too world. Get out, sir. No. Anyway, my point is that they try to give they market art the way, and they produce art the way people market and produce Coca-Cola, and they're not the same thing. It's not the same thing. Art is not designed to fulfill your basic needs in that way. Generally, it's supposed to challenge you, and it's supposed to maybe enlighten you and entertain you. But
I mean, I don't think you should totally dismiss the audience, but at the same time, I don't think art should be reactive either. I think it should be completely active, and I think that
it's not dismissing them, it's for them, but you're not letting them dictate the story. That's not how it works.
That's not how that's
not how storytelling works. That's not how the Force works.
I remember I was playing in my second band, and they're like, well, people like breakdowns in music, and people like this and that. And I'm like, who gives a shit what they fucking think? Let's make our own music, and let's be fearless about it, and let's just do what we want to do. We shouldn't have to pander to anybody else.
Right.
I hate that. I hate that. Have you seen? You probably, I don't know if you've seen this. The newest Lars von Trier movie, The House that Jack Built, with Matt Dillon.
I have not. I don't know if I can put myself through any Lars von Trier right now. I'm not in a good headspace for Lars von Trier.
Yeah, you really can't, if you're depressed or emotionally wrought or anything like that, Lars von Trier is probably the last thing you should be watching. Watch a Woody Allen movie or something like that, something a little more like upbeat, you know? Well, even Woody Allen.
I was going to say, he's not particularly upbeat. He's about as depressing
you know, just yeah, you know, like he's, I like Woody Allen, but yeah, it's, I don't know, what would be the polar opposite to a Lars von Trier movie? Not Michael Bay.
I would say, you know, like a Marvel movie, like a Captain America movie, or an Avengers movie would be the polar opposite to a Lars von Trier.
It's something where there's no,
well, where you're pleasing the audience instead of assaulting them. That's the one thing I as a, you know, a writer and an actor, I don't personally do what Lars von Trier does, and I try not to. But
I love it.
I value it. I see value in. I mean, there are images in his movies that I'll remember for the rest of my fucking life.
Yeah.
Not good images, terrible, horrific images, but he got to me, and I respect that.
Which of his films have you seen?
Antichrist.
Ooh.
I got through about, I would say 2/3 of Nymphomaniac, but it just got too fucking weird for me.
Yeah, I don't even think I finished Nymphomaniac.
It's
I think
so
I
long. The uncut version has a minute, 60 seconds of black before the movie starts.
Oh, that's right.
And that just, I mean, it's like, it's so pretentious and it's so like stereotypical film douche that I kind of love it. I kind of got to be like, you know what, dude? Kudos to you shooting a really a beautiful porno with Shia LaBeouf.
That's what it is.
It is. I mean, it's gorgeously shot. It looks like a real movie and everything, but it's essentially a really long porno.
I was thinking about a movie the other day that I watched that was like, Blue is the Warmest Color. It's a French film, but it's pretty explicit at parts, and I was like, Jesus.
You ever hear the story? The actors on that movie, the girls were like, they were kind of they had kind of a Me Too thing with that director. She was really kind of forcing them into those situations, and sort of it wasn't comfortable. That's what they said later. They were.
Oh, interesting.
It was not a good.
I thought they were like French and that they were just free and just did whatever.
Yeah, no, I mean they were really like manipulated and kind of pushed into it, and they, you know, the director used cuts that they didn't kind of approve, and yeah.
So it's a good movie.
Yeah, it's been on my Netflix spank list.
Yeah, it's good. To kind of harken back to the Clouds of Silveria again, to contrast the French actress with the American actress, there's a scene in it where they both go skinny dipping, and well, I don't know, that Juliette Binoche gets fully nude, and then Kristen Stewart just like goes down to her panties. But there's a part where Juliette Binoche runs into the water. And the tree is like obscuring her. So I don't know. Did she really like take a chance or anything like that? I don't know. You know, but she cut her hair. She cut all her hair off. And so I think there's a level of you know, commitment and fearlessness, and you know, she really wanted to make this character the best that she could, and she just went for it. You know, and I love her in Three Colors trilogy, English Patient. You know, like she's a great actress. But you know, again, to contrast the difference between French actors and actresses versus American actors and actresses, you know.
Well, I think it depends. I think it has a lot to do with where you train, where you come up, what's the culture in which you're. Kristen Stewart is an LA chick. Paris and LA have very different cultures and very different focus. I mean, as an actor, like, you know, I'm gearing, hopefully for this next movie, I'm trying to pack on some pounds. You know, I want to kind of let loose. I want to get up to 200 pounds and see what I can do with that.
Are you like jacked like guns, or are you trying to just be schlubby?
Probably the former, because I want to hit the gym as much as possible. The idea is to change the body type and stuff like that. And I was even thinking of shaving the head, but I have some pattern baldness that makes me worry about that. But my point is that, like,
you need to shave the head. If I ever start going bald, I'm just gonna cut it all off.
When it gets serious, I might do that. I'm not there yet. I'm looking pretty good at the moment. But my point is the extreme physical stuff. the transformational stuff, the juice of being an actor. When you're, say, a movie star, when you're a Kristen Stewart, or if you're a Jennifer Lawrence, you're very limited in that stuff.
Yeah.
Jennifer Lawrence can't pack on 30 pounds and play. You know what I'm saying? She can.
She would never, though. Let's be real.
I mean, she could, but she, it's the brand, I guess, is the point. And I find it interesting because, to me, branding, which is something we all try to do as part of the work, it seems to be the antithesis of acting, because you're supposed to be able. In a perfect world, any actor can play any part. That's the idea. You can, if you do your work and if you care and if you open yourself up to the character, you're right for it. And you have to do what it takes. Sometimes it's physical, sometimes it's mental, learning, sword fighting, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
When you do what it takes for the sake of the art, you don't think about, well, who is Owen Conway? What's the Owen Conway brand? Owen Conway is not a part of the conversation. It's the character. That's the pure way of thinking of it. But of course, in the world, we exist in, if you don't have some kind of brand, you're not going to get any work.
Well, Clooney shouldn't be part of the conversation either, but George Clooney is always George Clooney. George Clooney is a brand.
Yeah.
George Clooney, I've not seen a whole lot of movies where I haven't just not seen George Clooney. I think the closest thing to that is probably Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Jack Nicholson's another one. There are certain actors who are like that. That's Denzel,
Denzel very much, yeah. I mean, they're kind of like,
Will Smith.
I don't want to say they're one note, but they know kind of what works for them, Though Denzel in Training Day is kind of different than anything that he's
any actor they kind of put, but for me, I've strived for the the De Niro's, the Christian Bales, where you can do leading man, you're not, you have a natural charisma and charm, but you can also disappear.
Yeah. How's the film doing, by the way? Your film?
It's doing pretty well. We're having another. There's this a festival in Texas. I don't have the information in front of me, damn it. But it'll be all up on my Facebook and stuff. There'll be another premiere, kind of a late premiere in Texas there with Barry Corbin will be coming to that one.
Sweet.
And they're gonna fly us out, and it's gonna be really nice. It's doing. I don't know about the numbers. I don't have. I'm not privy to that information, but still getting. Still doing well.
Drop your name.
Say that again.
It was really cool to see Lance Henriksen drop your guys' name, and it was Forbes, right?
Yes. Lance was in Forbes talking about us. Yeah. Lance is very cool.
That was a nice little plug, man. I love when, I've had friends that have been in higher places that, give me a shout out. I'm like, thanks, man. I appreciate that. It's awesome.
He was he was a really awesome guy, man. I mean, I can't say enough nice things about Lance Henriksen. He was just the coolest.
And I feel so envious that you got to actually act with him, because he's been in some. I mean,
I still haven't really mentally digested it. It was such an experience. It feels like a dream, It feels like it didn't really happen.
Yeah. So you got any resolutions for 2020?
Resolutions. I'm gonna eat more. Well, I'm gonna, for the movie. We're working on another Western, and I'm eyeing up a couple of different characters. But whatever I do, I want it to be kind of. I want to put on some weight, and I want to transform a little bit. I want to lose myself in this one. So my resolution really is to spend the year acting, because this year I really didn't do any acting. There's a lot of other stuff, and the movie came out and everything, and I went around promoting it, but I didn't do any real acting this 2019. So 2020, I'm gonna act.
I don't catch much shit last year. I think all my acting was done towards the beginning of the year, and then I just took the rest of the year off. And to be perfectly honest with you, I don't know that I'll ever return to acting again.
Really?
I don't think.
You're really good at it, dude. You know what I mean? You're
all the events that transpired, and to talk about that branding thing again, and I mean, you and I have discussed this before, like, sexual fluidity and stuff like that. I mean, I've already talked about that, and I've already said all I want to say about it, so I'm not going to say anything more about it. Semicolon, however, comma, I do feel like that is a huge inhibitor, especially to male actors, in the, when you're trying to book roles and stuff. Because, again, people look at George Clooney. He's George Clooney. What does George Clooney do in his personal life? What does George Clooney for breakfast? Who does George Clooney fuck? So I think that's, again, I think we still have a long way to go, especially in the entertainment industry. And you know what the funny thing is, Owen, is that as progressive as LA claims to be, I have experienced more like bigotry and just hatred in LA than I have anywhere else in the world.
I think the best representative of LA is in the movie Crash. The way the racism, the xenophobia,
I kind of hate that movie though.
A lot of people do. I kind of love it, but I thought it. However you feel about it, I think it captured LA in a very accurate way.
Well, again, no fucking. To kind of sidetrack a little bit, talking about the film industry having no balls. I haven't seen Brokeback Mountain, but I've heard it's the better film when compared to Crash. And they just didn't have any balls to give it to a film that was about males in a same-sex relationship,
Yeah.
And so, again, it's like, I don't know. It's so frustrating to just see where they compromise, And they just don't take chances, and they
and I think...
Again, I didn't like Crash. I'd never had any desire to watch it again. I thought it was like a third grader trying to tell how racism works and bigotry. You know what I'm saying?
I can kind of get that. Yeah, I mean, look, certainly a lot of people have. The internet was rife with people trashing Crash, and the Academy Awards, when Shakespeare in Love beat out Saving Private Ryan, it was clear what was going on there. There was it's never about the better movie.
No, it's not. And the Best Picture is almost like a booby prize at this point,
Mm-hmm.
Stupid.
It really is. It doesn't do for a movie what, say, Best Actor or Best Director does for an actor or a director. Kind of just
as far as the picking thing's concerned, I don't want to say I'm done with it, but I just think that we need to exist in an area where there's more tolerance. I mean, I've already experienced intolerance at the hands of fellow students, and I had to leave my fucking job because of this stupid shit, because it was so fucking like I didn't want to make a fucking big thing about it, but it was like sensationalized, and I was like, fuck, And so, it was.
Hey, look, man, LA is not for everybody. I love it, but I'm not there now, and I don't particularly miss it. I don't feel any huge drive to go back. I mean, I am going back eventually.
I still
have an agent out there. The work's out there ultimately. I mean, New Mexico is a possibility, I guess. I might go back to New York at some point, but
the creative, artistic spirit's there, and that's essentially why I went there. I don't always particularly jive with the people, though I'm here, and I forgot that there existed a whole demographic that loves trucker hats and hunting jackets.
Yeah.
That's how that's how you show your masculinity.
When you go home, man, you forget about this. You forget about that world, yeah, and then you're back in it. Yeah, I totally hear you.
Yeah, I'm like, fuck, I know now why I left this stupid place. But
I was at a buddy's house the other day. I won't say his name. But I was at a buddy's house the other day, and he said, "Hey, you want to see my AR-15?"
Oh my god!
And I was like, "Yeah." So he busted it out. What struck me is how light the thing is. It's like it's like a 12-year-old could use this thing.
Oh yeah.
And
M16 is like 7 pounds.
I mean, it's so light. It felt like a video game controller for Medal of Honor or something like that.
Yeah, I love me some guns, man, and I don't want to say I'm pro Second Amendment, but I think we should be allowed to own guns.
It's a very touchy. It's a very slippery subject for me, man. My feeling is I have a very basic philosophy with guns is that if I'm in the vicinity of a gun, I'm much more likely to get shot. If there's no guns around me, I'm much less likely to get shot. So
that's true. But if you look from a historical perspective, what does a country always do when they want to take complete control? They disarm the citizens. You can look at it in Nazi Germany, and the people did it willingly.
Yeah.
And that's
Well, I mean, I do think I that being said, instrument, we'll call it, like the AR-15 I was holding the other day. I mean, that's an instrument of murder. That's not for hunting. That's not for self-protection. That's for murdering a lot of people at one time. And the fact that that's available to a civilian is insane.
Yeah, that's a real fine line.
I mean, where does it end? Can I go buy a nuclear bomb? The Second Amendment guarantees us the right to armament.
See, here's what they'll do. Pretty soon they're going to be like, okay, well, you can't own an AR-15. But then it's like, you can't, and then they'll be like, oh, well, you can't own, a 12-gauge shotgun.
But the line already exists because you can't own biological weapons. You can't own anthrax. You can't own napalm. The line already exists. It's just extending that line to weapons. I mean, or at least, I mean, there has to be some kind of mental health screenings. There has to be licensing. There has to be, because people do keep getting shot up by these big guns.
That's not to say that person wouldn't just snap someday. Maybe they're of sound mind, and then they just have some sort of episode. And
well, look, I mean, and then you could make the same argument for cars, obviously, but it's something has to be done about these shootings. And I don't think guns are the root of the problem. I think they're part of it. They're definitely not the root. I think
what happened in Virginia. The guy took his car and mowed all those people down when they were protesting. So it's I don't think getting rid of guns is going to curtail the problem. I think it's like putting a Band-Aid on a shotgun wound. I think it's like, it's going to help temporarily, but again, if you want to outlaw guns, people are going to be able to find guns on the black market easily. I could do it right now. If I wanted to go.
Well, that's a problem too. I mean, that should be addressed also. I don't think outlawing guns will ever happen in this country. Even if I wanted it, even if I was convinced that it would, there'd be no more gun violence if there were no more guns. Americans it's a part of the culture. You know what I mean? And it's like, but there are very tough regulations on smoking and drinking and now vapes. I was at the vape store buying myself a new battery, and the guy kicked these two college students out because they weren't 21.
You know what happens to me? I get this is the way that they get alcohol now and cigarettes, is they order it through DoorDash or through Postmates or something, and then you go out there and you deliver it to them, and they're like, "Hey, I forgot my ID," or they'll give you somebody else's ID or something like that, and I'm like, "No. I knew somebody that got fined for selling someone alcohol at a grocery store. Got fined $10,000. Couldn't work a job where there was alcohol served. So he was extremely limited in his employment prospects.
Alon said that in LA you can go to jail for it.
Yeah, it just fucks you the rest of your life. Yeah. So it's not worth it to me. When I would get those orders, I would call them after a while because I got, shafted too many times. I'd call them and I'd say, "You have your ID?" And then they'd be like, yeah, I got it. And then I'd show up there and they're like, "Oh, I couldn't find it." I'm like, well,
then you're not getting your beer. I mean, look, it's a stupid law in the sense that you should be able, if you're able to sign up for the military and go die in Afghanistan, you should be able to have a drink. I think that's an argument for raising the military age, personally, but.
I agree with you there. I think it's kind of silly to have. And didn't they upped the tobacco age to 21 too, right?
Yes, they did. Yep.
Is that federal or is that just state?
Well, and it doesn't officially kick in. No, it's federal. It doesn't officially kick in until next month, I guess. But people are already jumping on it. Like I said last night, these two girls got kicked out. It was whatever. As a vapor, I don't have any problem with more regulations. It just means it's less likely I'm inhaling, fucking formaldehyde or something.
Right. It's you ever read that book, The Jungle, Upton Sinclair?
No.
So Upton Sinclair, he worked in a meat packing facility, and he saw how the meat was handled and the conditions of the meat and things like that. And his book, he wrote a book. It was essentially like an expose on the whole meatpacking industry, just telling all the unsavory practices they did, having diseased product and just unsavory, filthy working conditions. And that, I want to say that it prompted the creation of the Food and Drug Administration. I could be wrong on that, but there were some sort of federal regulations that were implemented because of this book. And that's what, to kind of touch on art, to bring it back to art, like, I think that art has influenced me in many ways, as far as career, what I think, ethics, like what I do with my life, and I think art is a very powerful thing. And,
Would you say that it has affected your life as much as your religion has?
I would say more so.
More so, yeah.
As much as I'm actually kind of at an impasse with my spirituality right now, to be perfectly honest with you, because I'm, I don't really know what's going on. This year was a motherfucker for me, man. This year was a fucking motherfucker. Like, injury, betrayal, bigotry, things like that. I'm just like, I can't, I was having a hard time, like, towards the end of the year, I'm like, fuck, is this really even, like, worth it, And so, like, even with my spiritual path, I'm like, why the fuck would why would God allow something like this to happen? Why would God allow a servant of his to be embarrassed and humiliated, especially in a public forum? And then I was like, oh yeah, Jesus,
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, I guess God's a little bit of a sadist then,
Yeah.
At the same time, I try to find a silver lining in everything, and this has prompted me. It's funny because I don't know if you feel like this, but if you, Cat Williams says, you need haters. He was like, you need fucking haters. You need haters, because that means that you're doing your job and you're doing it right, And so that also, like, again, to quote Star Wars, if you strike me down, I'll become more powerful than you could possibly imagine. It's just increased my resolve so much more, And I just want to,
And this is this is the power of myth. It reminds me of a recent news story of a cat who got, to bring it all kind of together, got killed in a mass shooting. He died. He attacked the gunman. He tackled him, and the cops say he definitely saved lives. This guy, Riley something. Riley, I can't remember his last name, but he Lucasfilm in the visual dictionary to do a tribute to this guy, named some obscure Jedi master after him because he was a big Star Wars fan.
I think I heard about that.
And it leads me to this other story of this, and this one always gets me. There was a little girl, probably about 12 or 13. Her whole family got murdered. Some horrible home invasion thing. She survived. And the thing that got her through was Harry Potter, the boy who lived kind of deal. And she had this public statement where she quoted the movies and everything. And I'm like, in a world without Harry Potter, without myth, without fiction, that little girl's lost. It gives, in the face of such extreme horror, it gives her some comfort and some connection and a sense of rising up. And that's, what Star Wars at its best for me has definitely done.
Yeah, anytime I need like a comfort movie, I'll throw on Star Wars, because it was always something that my mom would show me when I was like homesick from school, and it's that familiarity with the worlds and the characters. It's just, it helps you kind of ground yourself again,
There are two scenes that are always on my like YouTube list for like, inspiration, or just if I'm feeling, really down. They're both Yoda scenes, and they're both Luke scenes. Empire and Last Jedi. In Empire, when the scene where Luke can't lift the ship out, and the whole spiel Yoda has about, life creates it, surrounds us, binds it. Luminous being. The line that I always remember: "Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter."
Yeah.
And then the other one was in Last Jedi when he talks about failure, and he says, "Failure is the most important teacher." And I mean, it's these are there's silly stories with laser swords and hobgoblins and whatever the fuck, but they're important. And they're important to people, and there's a reason Star Wars, even when it bombs, it still makes a gajillion dollars. People flock back to it. I continue to flock back to it for one, and there's power here, and it's.
But yeah, and now it's become part of our cultural lexicon. In that, I was looking at something. It was a fortune cookie, and it said the message in it was "Try not, do or do not. There is no try." And I was like, oh, there's some ancient Chinese wisdom for you there. Yeah, but it's but it's a great quote, and I could see where someday we would look upon that, the Star Wars films and think they're, I mean, they are. Like, I say that it's like the great American epic at this point, or it was,
They're our myths, and they are American, and they're made out of cinema. They're not made out of comics or literature or anything. They're purely cinema,
right?
And that sets them apart also.
So, what are you looking forward to in 2020?
Gonna be making another movie, another Western with my brother. We think it's gonna be another Western at this point. There's a couple of scripts that are generating a little heat, let's say, a little money or a little backing interest. So it's probably gonna be a Western. I'm looking forward to spending some time with my family at home. I'm back in AZ for a little while here. I'm working on some music. I don't know if I'll publicly release anything anytime soon, but it's maybe this year. And eventually I'll get back to LA and we'll see.
Yeah. That's great, man. I got to see your film in at the Lemley in Beverly Hills, and it was, dude, I was so proud of you, man, because I was like, this is Owen's movie, and it's in a theater,
Yeah, it was pretty cool, man. Thank you, bro. It was awesome.
That's got to be like a great sense of accomplishment.
It is.
Just film up on a big screen.
It really is, especially when it's interesting when it's something that you wrote, and you kind of saw the whole process come together. I only wrote a handful of things in there, but one of them was just this scene with Charlie Motley and Augie Duke. Augie Duke, shout out to both of them. Awesome people, awesome actors. And see that on the big screen, the real big screen. It was something. And obviously my scenes with Barry Corbin and Lance Henriksen, and I kill a lot of people in that movie. A lot of people.
Yeah.
Available now on almost all the streaming platforms. Amazon, iTunes, all the Xbox, a bunch of them. Eminence Hill.
Plug battle. So what do I have going on? Yeah, maybe a return to acting. We'll see. I don't know.
You're gonna be home for a while, or what are your plans in that regard?
Say that again. Sorry.
Are you gonna be going? You think you might be making a move anytime soon, or are you gonna?
Oh no, I'm going back. I'll be back in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Oh, you're going back. I thought. Oh wow, yeah. Okay. Well, good for you, bro.
So I did think about it, and I was like, sometimes I think about just getting like a straight job and then just giving up on everything, and I was like, nah, I've come too far,
Well, that's it, man, and good parts come for guys in our 40s. You know what I mean? If we have a lot of mileage left in us.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And like I said, it might be something I revisit. I just don't know that I'm ready to right now. I've been doing a lot of screenwriting.
Oh, cool.
Been writing the script that I've been working on for the past year, and then a buddy of mine just started a new pilot for a major franchise that we're going to try to sell to one of the networks. That fingers crossed, we'll see.
Dude, that's great.
Yeah. And one thing I wanted to do too is that sometimes I experience a lot of toxicity in my life, specifically with people and the environments. And I want to just try to eliminate that as much as possible. I don't know that I'm going to return to Stella Adler, to be honest with you. And
I feel like the Adler's kind of it's a place for you when you're 21 and you don't know how to act and you don't know if you want to act or not. Some people, the Adler's a place for them to find out they don't want to do this, and it's tough to come in there older, is what I'm saying. I think
there's a story that Nero was telling me about Prince, how Prince went and saw an Outkast show, and Big Boy got off the stage. And Prince was like, he's like, hey, man, that was a great performance. And Big Boy's like, I don't know. And he's like, well, what don't you know? He's like, I just don't know if my heart's in it. I don't know if I enjoy it anymore. Mm. And he was like, then quit. Prince was like, quit. And he was like, okay. And he quit. And I don't know what he's doing now. But whatever he ended up doing was like infinitely, I don't want to say more successable, but I guess he enjoys it more and he's getting a lot of steam and traction for it. I want to say acting.
Good for him. Good for him. Big Boy, I don't know if he's an actor. I think maybe he's a restaurant owner, investment banker or something. Who knows? Maybe he just invested his money well and he's sitting back and enjoying his life and his kids and shit.
Well, and like when I did the most recent play, it was just such a drag. It was so, and I was wearing multiple hats, and I was like, I was too stressed out. And then you're just dealing with, combative, cast members and crew, and it was just too much for me. And I was like, I don't know if I enjoy this, or maybe I should just take.
Well, here's the thing, man. A bad play is a particularly traumatic experience because it takes so much work and time and commitment, and if you're not enjoying it, it's. I mean, why are you there? It's a horrible experience. Yeah. I would suggest that probably a lot of that has to do with the group. And I love the Adler, and I'll always go back to the Adler. That's my LA home. I love everyone there. They're all family to me.
I just think that
there's a lot of groups out there doing theater, and there's a lot of there's plenty of shit to find, man. I would suggest not letting a bad experience sour you on it because you are good, And I think you could book work. I think you're good enough to book work. You got a good look. You know what I mean? I think
I still hate the audition process. I think it's silly.
It's the worst, dude. It blows. It's terrible.
That's why I think you're doing the right thing. You and your brother are writing and directing your own shit. Like I really admire that. And I respect that, and it's kind of what I want to do. We'll see. And just kind of, I think they're successful, strong sense of who they are as an individual. And I'm still trying to, even at, almost 40, I'm still trying to find that, I want to say that I pretty much have a firm grasp on it, but there's still things in my life that I feel like I need to improve upon. And, your typical New Year's resolutions, get healthier, get, stronger, whatever, And so, I'm in the truck now. I think I just want to be able to, stay focused, realign myself with spiritual teachings and, just be the best version of me that I possibly can.
Well, that sounds like a solid resolution.
And it sounds like a solid way to end our show.
I think so, too. And we ended it on a pretty positive note, too, considering I really do not like this movie. All right, brother. Well, it is, as always, it is awesome to talk to you, and let's see if we can't make this a semi-regular thing. I think we'll see how it all works out. The technical side of this, there's still the editing ahead, but
I think everybody will be relieved to hear my voice not as booming and ominous.
Yeah, still learning. I'm a baby sound engineer.
You haven't shut me up yet, but it's a step in the right direction for y'all. So, this will be fun. Let's revisit it.
All right, brother. Good talking with you. Thank you all, of course.
All right, man. Best wishes to you and your family, and Happy New Year. And we'll see you all next time. Jen, have fun.